This video is sponsored by Wildlife Command Center Coffee. More about them at the end of the video. Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and I am back with another One Filmmaker, One Film. And today, my guest is...
Me, Drew Marvik, the writer and director of Pool Party Massacre.
That guy. I'm doing it the wrong way.
Yeah, where am I?
I can't... My fingers don't go in that direction. Yes, Drew Marvik, A Pool Party Massacre. And this is going to be an awesome interview. I've been trying to get Drew on the show for a while, and now he has some free time because he's a busy man making many things.
Yeah, I make lots of things. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, movies, commercials, children. Everything.
That's true. There you go. And
dreams come true.
Oh, well, see, you're on my show, so that's a dream come true.
Yeah.
That works. And give me a brief history of who Drew Marvik is. How did you start in this business? You know, who is Drew Marvik?
Well, Drew Marvik is an enigma. Nobody really knows the answer to that question at all. I get asked that a lot. But as far as in relation to this industry, I've been working in film for 17 years now, I'd say. I full-time, that's my job. I produce, direct commercials, so mostly produce, and that's what I've been doing for 17 years. And then also through that, have started making films and acting in films and producing feature films. So I've been doing it for a long time. I got into production just kind of on a whim. Well, I always wanted to. Even when I was 15, I took night school classes for video television production that were offered through like my school district in Southern California. I had to go after school to a different high school and take these classes. And I got a degree, a certificate in video television production that was worthless, but it was fun. It took me 2 years to get it, of going all the way across Orange County to take this class from this like burnt out hippie that taught me how to edit from VHS to VHS. But anyway, so I always wanted to. We made short films in that and made like a mini documentary throughout the program. And it's just something I wanted to do, but I didn't think it was realistic. I didn't think it was a career that I, like some, little skater punk heavy metal kid from the suburbs of Orange County could ever work in film. So I didn't pursue it. I went to college, got a business degree, managed nightclubs. And then one of my employees was going to film school. And I would always joke like, hey, if I ever get a day off, I'm going to come to set. And I never got a day off for like 3 years. And then when I finally took some time off, I said the same thing to her. Like, hey, I'm taking 2 months off work. If you're on a set and they need a production assistant or like a chauffeur or anything, have them call me. And she said, well, I'm on a shoot right now that starts tomorrow and they're desperate for a PA. And so she gave me a phone number to call. I called. An hour later, I was a PA on that shoot. I was going to do it for 2 months, not that shoot, but just be a PA for a couple months while I took 2 months off work. And I just never went. I kept telling my wife at the time that I would get a real job again at some point, and I never did. And here I am. I still don't have a real job. 17 years later, a lot's changed. Don't have a wife, but I still don't have a real job. So yeah, that's how it happened. And then it snowballed from there. Then I started acting in a lot of commercials by default because I was producing them or was on set. And it started in small roles and then bigger roles. And then just suddenly I had been in 100 different commercials and several short films and decided to make a feature finally. And now it's all a blur.
Yeah. Well, they say if you don't remember it, you must have had a good time.
Yes, I definitely had a good time most of the time.
And what do you prefer? Do you prefer acting, directing? Where do you really consider yourself to be? Or do you just like all of them?
I just love creating. I just like making things, especially when it comes to film. But I think I'm just an artist at heart, as cheesy as that sounds. But so I just love creating. So I don't really mind what I'm doing on set. I just want to be a part of it. Like I'll still if a friend asks me to, you know, if it sounds like a fun job or I'm not doing anything. Like I just like being on set and I like being part of the process. If I have to pick, lately, because I've been producing and or directing for so long, usually, especially if I'm producing, I'm the first one on set and I'm the last one to leave. And that's very tiring. And so once I started acting more, I really appreciated the fact that I would have a call time later than everyone in production and would often get wrapped before the shoot was over. And so for selfish reasons, I enjoy that. But I also I really enjoy acting. And so I like it all, which is why I guess when I make something, I'm usually directing it, producing it, acting in it, catering it, sweeping up afterwards. Like I just genuinely enjoy the process. So I like to do everything. But yeah, lately I've been doing a lot more acting. I mean, I haven't directed. Jesus, the last thing I directed was my short for 13 Sleighs Till Christmas. And that was probably over a year ago now. But I've probably acted in 5 features since then and a bunch of shorts and a couple commercials.
Did COVID have any effect on that? Is that why like you haven't directed or anything like that? Or is it just more of a choice?
I think it's a little happy medium of the two, or an unhappy medium of the two. COVID definitely had an effect. I mean, my main business producing commercials went away completely. I mean, for the first year of COVID, I think I had one shoot. I mean, because we weren't even allowed to pull film permits it was like 8 months here in Las Vegas. So, I mean, our hands were tied. I mean, the only thing I did was we produced a commercial for the city of Las Vegas. And even though it was for Las Vegas, we still couldn't pull a permit. We couldn't have more than 5 people on set. It had to be a B-roll permit, and we had to shoot what became a huge, like, nationally aired commercial with only 5 people on set. It was bonkers. So yeah, that definitely had an effect, but it allowed me, I mean, like 13 Sleighs, we shot and I directed that during COVID at that same time. And so I adhered to our local rules, and I didn't have more than 5 people on set. It was just the talent were just my 2 children and myself. And then I had a 2-person crew, and that was it. So, but yeah, it was hard to make things, which is why we haven't made Pool Party Massacre 2 yet. And there's a couple other projects that I had intended that I would have made by now if it wasn't for COVID. But it did allow me to do other things as well. I got a lot of people reach out to me about, you know, COVID movies where people were self-shooting their own scenes in their house and submitting them and things like that. So I did several of those that I've not followed up on. So I have no idea like where they even are or if they exist. I think we might have talked about one of them at Amityville Hex.
Yeah.
Like they reached out to me and I sent them a scene, and I don't know. I never heard back. I don't know if it's out. I don't know if I'm in it. I don't know anything. Maybe someday I'll find out.
Well, as you showed me, there is a poster, so there's something there.
Yeah.
At least there's some proof of it existing.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe it's out and they didn't even want me in it. Who knows? Maybe they cut my scene. It was too good.
Well, it was
too well made.
Yeah, because that's one of the only good things that come out of, I think, 2020 is like the COVID films. I found myself acting in a ton of films where I could just set up the camera or use Zoom or whatever it is, and then just send it to the person. And I think I did more acting through me recording myself than I have actually made films.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least you're working, you know, at least you're still doing something.
It is something, because it was hard. And in other states, every state had their own regulations, and obviously everyone had their own opinion on how things should be handled. But some states earlier than others, you were able to still be on set if you adhered to all the COVID protocols. And then eventually we were able to here, which is where we still are. I mean, so now business has picked up for me, and I've been on a lot more sets just where we have to do either every 3rd day or every 5th day testing and have to have a COVID compliance officer on set. And so I've been on a lot of sets where we have to adhere to all of those that I've been acting in and producing. and at least we're able to work. It's great. So that's been nice. But yeah, the like self-shot stuff during COVID was fun.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in the midst of something that wasn't fun at all, at least there was, you know, this little glimmer of light.
That's true. And you were one of the lucky people who got to work with Ted V. Michaels. And I moved out here, and I didn't even know he lived in Vegas at the time. And I would have loved to have worked with him. I am a fan. What was that like? What was that like working with him?
Ted was great. I mean, I knew who Ted was, and I was a fan of his, and I had no idea he lived here either. I mean, I had been here for years at that point and had worked in film and production for years before one day another producer director, a friend of mine, Chris DeFranco, had found out that Ted not only lived in town but had a studio like walking distance from the studio that Chris managed. So we went over there. He reached out to him. We went over there just kind of on a whim and met Ted, and he happened to be leaving his, like, kind of in a transition at the time. And so we met him, said we would be in touch and that we wanted to work with him. Didn't talk to him for a while. And then Chris reached out to him again. And in that short period of time, he had to vacate his studio. He had lost it for financial reasons and ended up having to throw like half of his belongings from the studio in a dumpster. Because he got evicted, and the landlord was just a big commercial real estate agent. They didn't know what any of it was. And he told us this whole sob story. And if we would have only called 2 months earlier, we could have had lights and stands and editing equipment and props and all the stuff that ended up in a dumpster because he had no way to move any of it. And so we ended up taking him to lunch and shooting a series of interviews with him. And I became friends with him through that, or we both did. And then worked on everything he made from that day forward because we became good friends. So everything he made, he would call me for production help and to act in it, up to the point where his last film that he was still making when he passed was 10 Violent Women Part 2. And I was kind of helping him co-produce it a little. I was really busy, so I wasn't helping as much as I should, and I was acting in it and simultaneously making a documentary about him making that movie. And then unfortunately he got sick before he could finish it and ended up passing. So, but it was great. I mean, he's an amazing man. He was actually the inspiration. I dedicated Pool Party Massacre to him because he was kind of my inspiration. I mean, I knew I wanted to make movies and I already worked in film, but to see this man in his mid 80s that could barely walk. I mean, he had a cane and he had to sit down every couple of minutes because he was old and his health was going, but he was still making movies. And I mean, he was shooting them himself and he was editing himself. So you'd see this little, like a Yoda, was hunched over with his cane and his big curled mustache and his camera in his other hand, trying to direct these scenes. And it just really motivated me because I was surrounded constantly by extremely talented people. Like in the production world, especially when I'm working on big commercials, I'm completely surrounded by very, very talented production professionals, cinematographers and gaffers and camera assistants. Everyone there is really talented. And a lot of them could make a movie by themselves. A lot of them have been doing this forever. They went to film school. They know how to shoot. They know how to edit. They know how to light. And they all went to film school and got in this business because they wanted to make movies. Like I still have not met a single person that said, I want to go to film school because I want to shoot businessmen at conventions and edit that footage together because that sounds like fun. But that's the kind of thing that we have to do to pay the bills. So all these people that I'm doing this with all wanted to make movies and still haven't because of whatever reason. The most common reason is I found is an insecurity, like this fear of failing, because everybody wants to be Quentin Tarantino and they want their first movie to be amazing and they can't get past that fear. And Ted kind of allowed me to do that because I thought, man, if this guy can go out and make this movie with a $400 budget, shooting it himself, and he can't even stand up for more than 3 minutes, why haven't I made a movie? Like, what is my excuse now at this point? Like, I have no excuse at all. And that's kind of what was one of the things that pushed me and all the other people around me not doing it. So finally, I just said, look, I'm the least talented person in this room, but I'm going to be the first one to make a movie. And everyone kind of said, yeah, right. And then I was. 9 months later, I made a movie.
Was that movie Pool Party, or was it one of the shorts that you did before it?
That movie would have been Pool Party. I'd made shorts,
Okay.
but I really wanted to make a feature. Like, I didn't consider myself like a filmmaker until I had a completed feature done and in distribution. So yeah, that would have been Pool Party, because I had done several shorts that I'd either produced or directed over the years with friends and colleagues. And then I even before Pool Party, I produced a feature, a $200,000 SAG feature that still hasn't come out yet, called Bob Freeman Exterminator for Hire. And it was a great experience. I mean, I'd already been producing commercials for a decade at that point, but I got this opportunity to produce a feature and star in it. And like I said, we had a $200,000 budget. We were a union shoot, and I learned a ton from that. And I think the product is great. I didn't direct it or write it, but I enjoy it, and hopefully it'll come out. Like, I've been begging my co-producer and the director, who they're related, so the two of them have control of the project, and I just beg them to put it out in some way. But they, it's their first movie, so they don't want to just drop it, on the world. They want to do it right. But unfortunately, it's been 6 years now. So,
oh wow,
at some point, yeah, we shot it. We finished shooting in 2015, beginning of 2015. So,
oh, okay.
And it's done. It's been done for 4 years. So hopefully someday that'll come out.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And I remember I think I saw these two films before Pool Party. There was one where you're at a house, and I think it's Halloween, and there's zombies running around.
Yes. Or a zombie.
A zombie. Okay.
A zombie. Yes. That was a short called Scared to Death that I wrote and directed I think that was 2015 as well. It was there used to be a subscription box called Horror Block. I don't think they exist anymore, but Horror Block and Rue Morgue magazine teamed up and did a short film contest, and you could submit a horror short, and there was actually a cash prize, which is rare. And so I made that short for that. But it had a $90 budget. We shot it all in one night, if I remember correctly. And I ended up winning second or third place. I don't remember which one,
nice.
But I won one of the prizes, and I got some money and some stuff and some magazines or whatever. And it was great. And it got some press that they put it out on DVD, and it was fun. That was a fun experience. And that was the first thing that I directed narrative wise. I think I directed maybe a commercial or like a web commercial before that, but that was really the first narrative thing I'd ever written and directed.
And I could be wrong, but the one where you're Santa Claus and your son is torturing you, was that before Pool Party or after Pool Party?
That was after. That was probably at least a year or two after.
Okay. So then I saw that. Then there's Pool Party, and then you did a short for 1031 Part 2. I
did. Yep. I wrote and directed a short. It's called Overkill. That's in 1031 Part 2.
And then you just got the newest thing would be the 13 Slaves of Christmas.
Yes.
Is the full time. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so that just came out pretty recently on Blu-ray, and I think it's now getting its digital release. Actually, I just saw some posts about it.
Yeah, I helped with crowdfunding on that. So I actually own the Blu-ray, and I got the digital soundtrack and all that stuff. So I saw who was involved in it, and I wanted to be part of that. So yeah.
Awesome.
So
that was a fun one. I mean, it was unfortunate because we ended up having to shoot during COVID, and because of our restrictions, like I said, we can only have 5 people on set. So my short and my script got smaller and smaller and smaller as we got closer and closer to actually shooting it, to the point where it was me and my 2 kids in my daughter's bedroom making a movie with 2 other people, and that was it. So it's definitely, production wise, it's my short in particular is very small in scale and scope, but it was fun. It was one of the most fun I've ever had. It was one night of shooting only. So, but a lot of the other ones weren't. Like, they were able to have full productions. I mean, if you watch some of the other ones, they have huge crews and.
Oh yeah. I remember yours from 1031 Part 2. So that was At least for me, it was 2 nights. Was it more than 2 nights of shooting?
1031 Part 2 was 2 nights. The one
Yeah.
for 13 Slaves was only 1 night.
It's only 1 night. So
Yeah.
And to go back to Ted for a second, my favorite films of him are the Astro Zombie films. I own every one among other films by him, but those are my favorites. And you're in 1 or 2 of those, aren't you?
Yes, I'm definitely in Astro Zombies M4, Invaders from Cyberspace. I mean, I couple role, like I play an Astro Zombie in some of it, and I also play, I think, like a federal agent. And I think I play a news cameraman also. At least those 3 roles. And that was fun. I remember trying to explain to Ted or ask Ted if I could kill myself as an Astro Zombie because I just thought that would be super fun. And he said, well, no, you can't be on camera as 2 people at the same time. And I was trying to explain to him, like, no, the way that the Astro Zombie comes out of the screen and shoots the lasers, like they're never really on the screen at the same time. Anyways, because there isn't an Astro Zombie climbing out of the computer. You're adding that later. So I just want to be able to tell people that I killed him, and he never grasped it. So I wasn't able to do it. So I had to just kill a coworker instead and then play every other role I could. So that was fun. I think that's the only Astro Zombies I'm in. I don't remember. I think I met him right after Part 3, but I was in a couple other movies. What was it? Paranormal Extremes, Text Messages from the Dead. That was another one of his movies that I starred in. Don't watch it. And then 10 Violent Women Part 2, which he never finished, unfortunately, but I am in that. And then actually on his deathbed, Ted had asked me to finish making the movie. We'd had a talk, and he had made a list of notes of how he wanted the movie finished, and he gave them to me and asked if I would finish it. So I still intend to do that at some point. I don't know exactly how to do it. I mean, I don't know how to do it properly, like to honor him the best way. I'm not sure exactly how I want to handle it. And because of that, it's been just sitting on the shelf, and then COVID happened. So now it's been years, several years, but I still intend on completing that movie just so it can have a release of some kind and to honor my promise to Ted to finish his movie. And I would like to finish my documentary that I was making about him making that movie. So I've been trying to figure out how to do that. And now I think I actually have a way. So hopefully in the next year, I'll be able to finish 10 Violent Women Part 2 in a way that honors him and make the documentary. I mean, it's hard. The hard part was I could finish the movie, no problem. I have his notes, and I could put a crew together, and I could bring in some cast members, some of that he already had, some new, and we could make it amazing. But I don't think that would honor Ted. I mean, this is not a knock at all, but the movie he was making wasn't amazing. I mean, he was making a no-budget Ted V. Michaels movie while being 86 years old and sick. And so I don't know that me making it look better than the rest of the end look better than the rest of the movie is the right thing to do, or if I should try to do it the way he would have done it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not going to walk with a cane, but like still try to do it the same way that if he was there doing it. And I feel like that could honor him more. So that's what I've been navigating, trying to figure out how to do it the best. And some of his notes were a little convoluted and crazy too. So.
Well, yeah, and it's nice that that I've gotten to work with you, a few times, and having that connection to him, and of course also working with Donna Hamblin.
Yeah.
So who's in Aximus 2, and she's going to be in some other stuff too of mine. So it's nice having that connection in there. So I like that a lot, because I was really bummed when I found out. I found out after he passed that he was out here. I was like, no, I would have loved even one day to work on a film set with him. So,
well, you would have been able to, because he welcomed anyone that would volunteer. So.
What are you going to do? Just enjoy his films. That's all you can do.
Well, the best you can get is you can work on the last leg of 10 Violent Women Part 2 when I finally finish that for
There
him.
we go. Yeah, definitely keep me in mind for that. I'd be up for that. That's for sure.
I'll make sure you're there.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And now something new that I've been doing with my guests is that I've been showing things that I own from my own collection of theirs. And so the first thing I have is this I Heart 80s horror hat
Nice.
that that I got from Tom Devlin. I even still have the, I don't know if you could see the tag, but Tom Devlin. And I kept it on. And so when I direct my next film, I'm gonna wear it.
That's awesome.
And I told Tom when I bought this, I said, God, this really looks familiar. And he goes, oh yeah, that's Drew Marvik. And I went, oh, I'll buy it. so I picked that up. So that's cool.
Yeah, I made that hat, not that one in particular, but the I Heart 80s horror hat for the short Scared to Death back in 2015.
Oh, okay.
I made one of them for my character to wear in the movie because I played like a horror fan watching Night of the Living Dead on Halloween night or whatever, or just any night. Actually, it wasn't Halloween night; it was just a night eating popcorn and watching a horror movie. And so I had made one of those hats. I designed it and made it. And then so many people, because that short got a lot of press, I got a lot of messages asking me where I got the hat and how people could get them. So then I started making them, and I've been selling them through my website. They're sold through the Pool Party Massacre website and at Tom Devlin's Monster Museum and at Nightmare Toys and a bunch of other places now. But
oh, nice. Yeah, I like the hat. So I've been waiting. I don't want to wear it as like a regular hat. I want to wear it as like a film hat. Like this is what I would make, as like my director's hat, I guess.
Sure.
And then I do have here's the Pool Party Massacre Blu-ray that is signed by a bunch of
you got the
cast and crew.
One. I have one of those too.
Hey,
Mine's not signed though. Forget it.
Well, this I got extra signatures on too. Like I made sure to to get Mark Justice when I was shooting, with him.
Nice.
And so anybody that I came across that would sign it, that wasn't on here, I got them to sign it. So it does have at least one or two extra signatures on it. And it's a good looking.
That's cool.
Good looking Blu-ray. Got the little.
Thank you.
Little person in there.
I did that myself. The new release of it actually has a reversible cover. Like the newest release, it's a couple years old now, but the newest release is a reversible cover.
Oh, okay. So, I'll have to find that then and take a look. And this has on it, so it's the film. It's not rated, and I like having up a little bit. There we go. So it's got it has two audio commentaries. So it's got the audio commentary with Drew Marvik and his mom, which is hilarious. I love when on the audio commentary, when you're like, Mom, you're not talking. And she's like, I'm looking at all the plants to see if they need to be trimmed.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's my mom. And that's the first time she's ever watched a movie and not talked through the whole movie. The one time she was supposed to talk.
That's funny. Then there's cast commentary with the actors. So we have Nick Byer, Jen Marvik. That last name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I knew her.
And Kristen Noel
McCusick. Yes, okay. I think she has a different last name now. She's got married recently, but
okay.
She's still the same person.
Got it.
As far as I know.
Yeah, so this is and then it also has location tour, a gag reel, and a making of featurette.
That's right.
So it's got and music is by Mike Conway.
Yeah, local legend.
Yep, and he did the music for Aximus 2. The effects are by Katie Jacobs.
Correct.
So I'll be asking about those. And Brian Mills, we know who Brian Mills is.
Yes, he shot it and edited and helped produce it and kept me sane.
Yeah, so there's a fair amount of people on here, especially if you're from Vegas. You would definitely know who all these people are. So, and then I'm kind of going backwards in history of discs here. So then I also have the DVD.
The DVD, nice.
So we got that same back on there, and front, the DVD is the same. And then, like I said, I'm going backwards here. So I also have the VHS.
Nice.
So tell me a little bit about the VHS. I see filmmakers are making more VHS these days.
Yeah, they seem to be making a lot. I mean, when I put the movie out in 2017, they weren't very common. And I just wanted it. I mean, it's my love letter to 80s slashers. So I felt like it should be on VHS, but I didn't know that anyone else would want a copy of it. So I was really just wanted it so I could have a copy. So I made a handful of them and kept one and put the rest on the web store, and they sold out in like 3 minutes, I think. And then I realized that people did want VHS. So I've since made, I've probably made over 500 VHS copies of the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they sell out pretty much every time I make more. I actually have a really special limited edition VHS release that's coming out for Christmas that's in the works right now.
Oh, so, cool.
Yeah. I'm excited about it.
And I just
tell you
for now. And I just opened this and stuff fell out of it. So we have this fell out of it, this sticker.
Magnetic Magic Rentals. That's who made the VHS. All of those VHS to date have been made by Magnetic Magic. They're awesome. And
I heart 80s horror.
Yeah.
I'm more of a 90s fan. It's come out. And then I'd never be a 90s fan. And we got this sticker for the poster, which it looks like you even signed it on the back there. Always. If I can get it. There we go.
I always sign a sticker in every order.
And then we have the sticker here.
Oh yeah. You got, that's a special sticker. I only made like 100 of those of my ex-wife getting killed with a hammer.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, so I don't know if that's appropriate these days if she's an ex. So that's
well, I mean, it's more appropriate. It's more appropriate. Who doesn't want to kill their ex with a hammer?
That's true. And
just
then
we're still friends.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah. We're all just kidding.
For the record.
And then a mini poster came with it.
I do actually have the hammer that I killed her with right here.
Oh,
coincidentally.
Sweet.
Hello.
Yeah, she got that. Let me get that out here. She got that. Well, she's on the back of the box too. Yeah, she got it.
Yeah, because it's probably the most memorable death scene from the movie, or definitely one of them. So it's been used. I mean, I made enamel pins of it. I have koozies, stickers. I've slowly been phasing it out since she is my ex-wife now. I just feel like I shouldn't be selling her face anymore or advertising me killing her with a hammer, just in case.
In case.
Yeah.
And then mini poster.
Nice.
That came with it there. And then I'll put all these back in. And now this one I got to stand up for because I tried getting it on screen appropriately, but I even have the Pool Party Massacre poster.
Oh, nice. The full 24 by 36 poster.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So there's I guess that looks okay there. Yeah. Nice. Sorry guys. It's the black. It's messing everything up, but
yeah, but it looks like the small one, but bigger.
But you get the point. And this is framed. It hangs on my wall.
Awesome. Thank you.
I just messed up the whole side.
Now it's broken.
Now it's destroyed because I'm an idiot. And then past that, so now we get into working with me, and you are in Axinus 2.
Yeah, that's me right there.
That's you on the cover,
holding one fake axe and one real axe, and that was really heavy.
On a sprinkly night too. It was almost raining when we shot this, which is why that background looks so bright and everything. Is the light was like reflecting off of the rain. Yeah. And you could kind of tell the real axe to the fake axe because you were kind of like this while holding it. You're like, John, hurry up.
Freaking heavy. Yeah.
It's like, I'm almost done.
You really only have one fake axe? Come on.
Yeah. Then there's the back, and this is it's a double disc. So we got that and that.
Nice.
And in most of them, I did put a sticker for the movie Untitled Massacre that I'm in. So that just sits right there. And then you can also see Drew and Axmis 2 in Fright Vision.
Oh,
so
yes.
It's part of the anthology for Fright Vision. And there's Mark Justice there from Axmis 2.
Oh yeah.
So at least they got a picture on the back. So, and lastly, you play the Prophet in Meat Hook Massacre 4.
That's right.
That we did.
I did.
And there you are. You're right there on the back. I made sure to get you right there.
Looking homeless.
Yep. But you told them, you warned them, and you were correct. So they all died, or allegedly died at least.
Maybe.
So, and we got the inside here. So that's my collection of and I do have the Axmis 2 mug. So that's
nice.
I've been waiting to show that so I could take a drink of water.
Hopefully we'll be able to add to your collection. I think I was doing the math last night in case you asked me what I had coming out next year, or at least how many things. And I think I counted 6 or 7 features that I have acted in that are slated to come out in 2022. So,
okay.
So hopefully all of them will come out.
Well, and then we have Axmis 3, so that's going to be coming out. And there's some other stuff I've talked to you about. So hopefully that will add to your list there. So
nice.
But I think 2022 is going to be great for indie film. So it's just people are just waiting or trying to finish up because of the unspecified virus from an unspecified country.
That's right.
So that's so YouTube doesn't take us down, because I guess you're not supposed to say the C word. From what I understand, I don't know, whatever. But so let's get into Pool Party Massacre. We've led up to this.
Let's do it.
So the film Floating Eye Films. Is that your company?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my production company that I started. I let my kids name it. One day we were sitting like on a Sunday morning watching cartoons in our pajamas, and we were watching the Aquabat Super Show, which is not a cartoon, but and I was getting ready to set up the LLC, and I asked my kids, what should I call it? And the episode of the Aquabat Super Show that was on was called Floating Eye of Death, and both of them were like, you got to call your company Floating Eye of Death. I said, okay, perfect. And then I thought, I'm like, well, because I produce commercials too, and I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't have the word death in my company name as I'm, sending over bids to like hospitals. So I just shortened it to Floating Eye Films. So, and that's where I was born.
Okay. All right. And always nice to ask the kids, because their kids are always creative and names that they'll make up. So sometimes more than adults. Yeah.
I'm actually thinking about changing it now, actually, now that I'm building a studio and stuff. And I also have to ask them what to name it now. Again, the new company, if I do change it. Floating Eye 2. Yeah, well, now they're older. It'll probably be something I don't even understand. Right.
And Pool Party Massacre, it came out in 2016. It is 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 50 seconds long. A good running time for a slasher film. Yeah. So how did you come up with the idea for this film?
Well, I mean, the initial idea was born during a phone conversation with Brian Mills, who ultimately ended up shooting it and editing it and co-producing it with me. He was a friend and a colleague. He shot and edited lots of corporate stuff and commercials here in Vegas when he lived here. And he had called me to tell me that he had just gotten a new camera. Oh my God, what did we shoot the movie on? It's been so long, I can't even remember which Sony camera it was. If it was the FS7, I think it was. But anyways, he called to tell me he got a new camera, and so that I could book him or rent the camera package from him. And in the conversation, he said, and also, if you know anyone who has a script, I would love to shoot a feature on it because I could shoot it in 4K. He's like, hell, I would even shoot it for free if someone had a script ready to go and we could start shooting in a couple weeks. That's how excited I am. And so I seized this opportunity and lied and said, I have a script ready to go right now. And he said, you do? Well, what's it called? and I just blurted out Pool Party Massacre. And he said, wow, that sounds cool. Tell me more about it. Can you send me the script? And I said, well, let me go dig it up. I might need to like punch it up a little bit. Let me do like a once over on it. I'll send it to you next week or in a couple of days. And he said, all right, awesome. Then I locked myself in my office and wrote the first draft over the course of like the next 4 days. And then that's how I was born. That the reason I blurted it out, Pool Party Massacre, is the day before that, there was a photo shoot in my backyard. I have a lot of photographer friends and model friends. And so my property gets used a lot. And one of my model friends was having a photo shoot in my pool in my backyard. And usually I don't charge my friends to come, for a photo shoot. I just always say that your payment is I get to be in, when you're done, let me know. And I want to be in like one of the photos doing something stupid. And that has happened hundreds of times. So in this one in particular, there's this beautiful model in the pool and they're like, we're done. What do you want to do? And I put on a blue mechanics jumpsuit that I happen to have and work boots. And I grabbed an axe out of my shed and I just waded into the water waist deep behind her and just stood there menacing behind this like beautiful model in my pool. And they snapped a couple pictures. They were really cool. I joked that they were so good. I want to make a movie called Pool Party Massacre. And so that was on my brain. And then so when Brian asked me the next day, I just blurted that out. And then I wrote the script. And then it evolved tremendously. Like at that point, Brian had said if someone had a script ready to go and we could shoot it in 2 weeks, I think is what he said, then I would shoot it for free. I whipped up the script really quick. I would have had a week to cast it. We had no money. So the original plan was, we had joked, he liked the first draft a lot and was on board and didn't know that I just wrote it real quick. But because of the timeline and our lack of funds, we were just going to make a movie that costs $100 or something like that. And just cast a couple of our friends. There was even a time where we joked about me playing every role in the movie, like wearing different wigs and bikinis, and like we thought of everything possible. But then after I did a couple passes on the script, we liked it more and more and realized like, hey, maybe we shouldn't just make it a $100 movie where I play every role. Maybe we should really make a real feature. And so then that's what we did. And we ended up putting a little more time and energy and money into it and making what you see on that Blu-ray and DVD.
Nice. And how many days did it actually shoot? Did you use the full amount that he wanted?
So we went way over. Like the reason he had taken a month off of work because he was going to move. He was supposed to move to Orlando, and his move got delayed. The house he was supposed to move into had an issue. It wasn't now going to be ready for a month, but he had already packed some stuff up, and so he basically was like, I have a month until I move. Let's make a movie. We didn't end up shooting any of it in that month because I did several rewrites, and then we actually started casting and taking it a little more seriously. His move got delayed again and again. And actually, I think it was ended up delayed 6 months by the end.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't even shoot in that original window that he wanted to, which was in August. We didn't start shooting until Black Friday, till the day after Thanksgiving. So, August to the end of November is the time we took to finish the script, cast it, and really break it down and get ready. So, and then once we started shooting in the end of November, it actually took 6 months. We didn't finish until June of the following year. We didn't shoot straight though. I would say, I think on the hard drive, there's 20 or 21 shooting days, but some of those were pickup days. Some of those were days we only worked for, 30 minutes or an hour. So, but technically I think it was 20 or 21 shooting days over the course of that 6 months.
And now according to the bonus features and stuff like that, and you even show it, you shot in the winter and not the summer. Why was that?
Yeah. Just necessity. We wanted to start in August when we initially had planned, but then ended up, like I said, kind of really liking the script and wanting to take some time to really finish the script and get the right cast put together and figure out the best way to make the best movie we could with what little we had. And that just took us into November, and then all of a sudden we were starting after Thanksgiving, and it was cold, and so we could have delayed it more, but we didn't want to do that. So we started shooting despite, and actually in the script, the girls are in the pool a lot. Like a lot of the movie took place in the water and on rafts. And if you watch the movie now, if you haven't seen it, none of them are in the pool. I mean, there's one scene, one male character jumps in the pool, which I just felt needed to happen. And he jumped in when it was freezing. He was just willing to do it. And then Nancy, our protagonist, she swims, but that was one of the last things we shot. So that was in June of the next year when it was actually hot and the pool was nice. And that was mostly just so that we could have at least one girl in the pool in the movie. Since it's called Pool Party Massacre, I felt like we needed that. So it serves no point. It doesn't move the story in any way, shape, or form. It's just like, look, we do have a girl in a pool, just so you know.
I mean, what was it any sort of problem with getting the girls to go into the pool? Like they're just like, no, we're not going to do it. It's just too cold. Or was it just like from you saying, you know what, it's too cold, we're not going to let you go in?
Yeah, it was just a decision that I made. I'm sure some of them would have been willing to go in, but it was really cold. I mean, there were days where it snowed the night before, and there was a day we were shooting where it was predicted to snow. So, I mean, it was genuinely cold. I mean, there were mornings when we started and it was still in the high 30s. So the water was not much warmer than that. So I just made that decision. I didn't want them to be uncomfortable. They're not going to be able to act well if they're freezing to death in the water. And and I just didn't think it was safe, and it would just cause issues. So I just worked around it, which worked fine anyways, because they are this group of high maintenance socialites, and probably most likely they wouldn't want to get in the water. They wouldn't want to get their hair wet. And it actually kind of works. And people have even given me credit for not putting them in the water because people like them wouldn't, which was not my initial reasoning, but I'll accept it.
Yeah, the character of Jasmine says that she will not get into the water because of her hair.
And that was written like for that reason, because no one could get in the water. In the script, she's in the water and she's on a raft talking about how she doesn't want to get her hair wet. So, but you make adjustments.
That's funny. And yes, that's the thing is that I will say is, Matt Collins, who shot Maximus 2, he told me this, and I think it's true. He said 50% of filmmaking is figuring out problems. So yeah. that's 100% true. And I've always thought of that, when shooting something.
Film and production in general. I mean, that's my job. Is I'm a problem solver. That's what I do. And often that's what my job title is when I work on a lot of international productions that come to town as a fixer. And that's what I'm called. That's what my role is called. They come to town and they hire a fixer, someone that can fix all of their problems because they're not used to being here and don't know how to work in these circumstances and what's proper and what's not. And they need someone that can fix all the problems that they have. So I get hired as a fixer regularly. So yeah, it is. It's just problem solving.
Yeah, that's. I don't think a lot of people who want to get into filmmaking realize that it is 50% problem solving. I think they just think you take a camera and you go out and you shoot something and you have a movie. Easy, done. And it's not.
No,
not at all. So how did you just use one house in the film?
No, there are. So, the pool that you see and the majority of the interiors, that's my parents' house. So we shot there the majority of the movie, but they're an older retired couple and their house is clean and neat. And so I couldn't just throw blood all over it. So I also cheated the interior of my house to be the interior of that house for several of the scenes. So a lot of the times when there's blood flying around, it's actually my house. Like the weed whacker kill in the bathroom, that was my daughter's bathroom in her bedroom. And she was like, I don't know, 5 at the time. So I had to take down her Disney shower curtain and put up a nondescript one so that I could murder someone with a weed whacker in her bathtub and then clean it and put her Disney shower curtain back up. And so things like that. So yeah, there was a lot of cheating my house for the interior of that house. And then we shot the intro which is supposed to be the next door neighbor's house. That backyard and that pool was my house at the time. So, and then we did shoot a little in the actual next door neighbor's side yard. So I guess there's three houses used.
Oh, wow. Okay. And is that like, you could, if you're watching a movie and you see a character enter from a hallway into a bathroom, those could be two totally different houses then?
100%. Yeah, it happens several times where a character turns a corner or opens a door in one house and then is now in the other house. But you wouldn't know. I mean, unless you lived in one of those houses, you would never know.
If you're mostly shooting in like the inside would be like your parents' house, how did you handle all that blood or the drill going through the wall, things like that most people would never do in their parents' house?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to minimize it. But I also, I have a just get it done kind of an attitude. So there were times where I went against my better judgment, but for the most part, I tried to minimize it. That bathroom, the drill through the wall, I did spray a lot of blood in that bathroom, and I did end up having to repaint the entire bathroom because I couldn't get it out of parts of the wall, which was an issue. I didn't drill a hole in the wall, which my mom may or may not believe still to this day, because I shot that while they were out of town. But no, I built a stunt wall and I put it over a hallway. And so I drilled through a stunt wall into the hallway. So I didn't actually drill a hole in their wall, but I did spill some blood, but I was very strategic. So you have to look really hard to find any blood in their house. But in that bathroom, you still can. Like every now and then when I go over there for dinner, I'll find like mysteriously a drop of blood on the door jamb or whatever. So, or the hinge. But yeah, I didn't do much. So the biggest messes in the movie were in my house. Like my master bedroom in my house was completely ruined, which is the master bedroom at the end of the movie where all the bodies are, and there's white carpet, and it was just covered in like two gallons of blood on the white carpet. So it was completely ruined. And I ruined my bed. Well, I didn't ruin it, but there's a scene where Nancy swings an axe, or Blair swings an axe, and it gets stuck in the bed. And we were running out of time, and we needed to get that gag to work. And I was trying to figure out how to do it with the prop axe. So I gave up and grabbed a Sawzall and just cut a notch in the wooden frame of my fancy Pottery Barn bed and put a real axe in it and hit it with a sledgehammer so that it wedged in there, and we shot the scene. And so now there's still my girlfriend and I now have a new bed. So we don't use that one, but it's in our guest room, and it still has a giant notch cut in it where the axe used to be. So
yeah, I remember shooting over at your place at the time, and I saw that bed, and I ran right to it and went, "Ooh, there it is. There's the notch. There it is, right there."
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it still exists. That is true.
It still exists. I think I'm going to have a garage sale next weekend, and I was thinking about selling it at the garage sale because it's just a giant bed in our guest bedroom.
And with the shower scene, that's your place. Your ex-wife, where she gets the hammer, is that your place?
No, that's in my parents' living room. That was the first death scene that we shot in the whole movie. One of the first shooting days, not the first shooting day, but it was definitely the first special effects day and the first death scene. That was right in my parents' living room where they sit and watch golf on the weekends. So yeah, and that was fun. And just off camera, my parents and both of my kids were right there watching their mom get killed with a hammer. Yeah, and it was fun. And we did that. I scheduled that death scene first because I thought it'd be one of the easiest, because it was just a gag of, removing part of the hammer and putting it in her mouth and then holding the other part of the hammer below it. But it ended up being logistically really hard to line the two up and make the shot look good. And then getting her feet off the ground, and there was a lot. It ended up being, I underestimated it, and it actually ended up being pretty difficult. But it turned out pretty good. I think people seem to like that kill. Like, so it gets brought up. I think it's the most iconic kill from the movie.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. It's definitely an interesting kill, and I I mean, knowing at the time that that was your wife, it was interesting to see like, oh, Drew just killed his wife, you know?
Yeah, with a hammer, which was fun to say. I mean, I speak at a lot of film festivals and panels and conventions, and that was always a good joke. And like to test the room, an icebreaker, I would mention that I killed my wife with a hammer. And it was a great barometer.
And what about the machete that goes through the door? Whose house was that, and how was that done?
That was still that was at my parents' house. That's in my dad's office. I just bought a door. So I replaced the door with a stunt door and put the machete through the stunt door. So if you pulled back there, I don't think there's ever a shot where we showed it, but the door was actually about close to a foot too short. The doors in my parents' house are really tall. And the price difference when I was buying the stunt door to get the actual size door to match theirs, it was a couple $100 more. And I was just going to shove a machete through it anyways. So I got the cheaper door, made it work. So, but there was, I mean, a good 8 inches of space just under the door. It was not tall enough at all. So which is kind of funny when the door was hanging there. But yeah, so that was just a stunt door.
See, this is your film is almost like a mini film school for people, you know, because of the audio commentary and the behind the scenes and how you show how these things are done. You know, if somebody who's interested in making a slasher film, you know, kind of like a one location slasher film, they may not think of a stunt door. They may ruin their own door. And now they're like, oh, wait a minute. Now I get it. I'll go out and buy a door.
Sure. I mean, and luckily for me, I had, you know, over a decade of experience in producing commercials. And so I'd been down all of these roads for one reason or another, not usually to kill people. I don't think I've ever killed anyone in a commercial. That'd be great. But for some reason, none of the clients want to advertise with murder. But we've still had stunts, and we've still had to break doors, and we still had to build stunt walls and build entire sets inside studios and break furniture. And you know, so I've done so much and watched professionals do so much that I've hired that I've taken a lot away from that. So it helped me with Pool Party. And I think what you're saying is right, which is one of the reasons why I think I get asked to talk at conventions and film festivals so much, because people do find a value in that and hearing how things are done on a smaller, because we can all imagine how they're done on a big schedule, on a big scale. I mean, like you can imagine how they're going to do it in a Marvel movie, that there's going to be an entire team of people and they're throwing money at it. But in a $6,000 slasher film, how do they do that?
Right. And when you were writing the film, how did you decide like weed whacker in bathroom, machete through door? What was the process like?
I mean, it wasn't a too specific of a process necessarily. I mean, I created a running list of kills that I thought were interesting, some that maybe were an homage to kills that I liked from other movies, some that I thought maybe had never been done before, and then I would kind of cross like a Venn diagram. I would have kills that I thought were perfect, and then I would overlay kills that I thought were possible, and then I would, where those two things overlapped, I ended up with my master list, and then I went from there, because not everything was, you know, I'm sure I would have had much bigger kills than I could have pulled off on the dream list. But then once I, you know, overlaid the what I can actually do with the budget I have and the constraints that I have, then that narrowed it down. And they all kind of changed. Like the weed whacker in the bathroom in the script, it's actually a hedge trimmer, and he cuts horizontally through the shower curtain. And then you see the body fall into two pieces, legs and torso and head, and half the shower curtain's still hanging there, and the body's. But I couldn't pull that off. We couldn't build when it came around to that, our special effects budget wasn't big enough for us to have another torso and legs made, because we already had to have a torso of Alexis Adams for when she gets decapitated. So we ended up with 2 torsos for that and 2 heads for that scene, and that blew our budget. So I couldn't cast another body. So I changed it to the weed whacker, which is almost like an off-camera death in a sense, because it's behind the curtain.
I think it's as much as the hedge trimmer, I think would have looked great. Very Pieces, that movie Pieces.
Yeah.
It would have reminded me of that. I think the Weed Whacker works because you got her screaming. There's blood spraying everywhere. It's dripping down that curtain almost like it's water. It's funny, but it's awful at the same time. So to me, it totally works.
Yeah, I was very happy with it, and it was a fun one. Katie Jacobs, our makeup artist and special effects artist, both was inside the shower just spraying blood all over the shower curtain without talent in there. Like some of the scenes, it's just her. It's just Katie in there with a blood sprayer trying to spray blood on that curtain. And the shower curtains, shocker, are designed to not have liquid stay on them. That's the entire purpose of their existence. So it was just beating up and running off so quickly that she had to spray it with so much force and volume for it to even read on camera that it was actually kind of hard to do, but it worked out. I'm glad you think so too.
Yeah. Cause you can, if you look at it a few times, you can, and if filmmaking and how things work, I would imagine it's you with, or somebody with the Weed Whacker, and it's not turned on, the sound is dubbed in
it
later.
Wouldn't even start. It literally didn't work.
Oh, well, see, that's good because it's behind the curtain, so you can't even see it. No. And then she's just in there, and I'm guessing, more blood as it's kind of shaking.
Yep.
It's so it works out perfect. It's might be low budget, but it works out perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And Machete, and then we got the bed. I don't want to give all of them away for people who haven't seen it yet. So a little twist. So we'll go back a little bit towards the beginning. I noticed the pool truck, the guy that does the pool cleaning, is Pinker's Pool Repair. And I'm guessing that is a Shocker reference.
Yes. I think the slogan on the truck is like, you'll be shocked how clean your pool is, or you'll be shocked how good we are, or something like that. So yes, definitely a Shocker reference. I love the movie Shocker, and it just, when I was getting the magnet made for the truck, that popped into my head, and I ran with it. And I think the phone number is even the release date of Shocker. I think it's the release date of Shocker. Yeah, I think if you look at it, it's like the month, day, and year that Shocker was released.
So it's because I wrote it down because I was curious, like, does that phone number mean something? So 702-198-9666. So is it 1989?
Yes, and then I just threw in the 666, I guess, just because that was fun. Yeah.
That's funny.
That's the year that it came. Yeah, the year it came out, and then 666.
Are there any other kind of Easter eggs in there from other films?
There are little things, and now I can't remember what actually made the final cut, to be honest. Other than that, which is that one's obvious. But man, now I can't even think. There's a Howard Stern reference that made the cut. I know that. Just as a Howard Stern fan, the Clay character, when he's walking down the hallway looking at all the pictures, he does a little whoa, stop the clock, which is a Ronnie the limo driver drop from Howard Stern show. But so there are things like that. Obviously, there's a reference to Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Fight Club. That whole scene.
Is that something that you made up, or is that something that's on the internet?
No, it's on the internet, and I had just read it once before, and it kind of stuck in my head, and I elaborated on it, at least for the movie. The original scene in the first few cuts was longer. I kept trimming it because it kept feeling long, and it still feels long to me. Some people it doesn't. Some people love it. Other people, that's probably the most common complaint about the movie, other than people that just don't like low budget horror and say that it's just a piece of crap. But people that actually don't mind the movie, the most common complaint is that scene is a little long or a little slow, but it actually was trimmed multiple times. So, but other people also love it. It's also some people's favorite scene. So I think it depends. If you don't know Ferris Bueller and or Fight Club, then it would not. Then it's going to miss the mark completely, and be a waste. So that was a risk, but
It's an interesting theory on the film. So it's yeah. So it's I could see it. It does have its faults. There are certain scenes where but just like Fight Club.
Oh yeah. I mean the theory. I don't think the theory holds up anyways. I just thought it was funny that this character would, this character that's trying to hit on every girl, and that's like his go-to pickup line is to bring up those two movies, and as if these girls would care anyways.
Well, yeah, and then he uses it on the smart girl who gets what he's doing, and then when that fails, he goes and uses it on, and I'm sorry for putting it this way, the dumb girl, and because as I'm sure in real life she's not, but and even she doesn't, she just doesn't get it, so it just fails all around. It still fails
all around, yeah.
So, and the music that's at the beginning of the film goes. Before the two people are killed at the swimming pool, you have the funky music, and that cuts to rock music, and then goes back to funky music to rock music, which I thought was funny that it went between the two, from like her funky music to his headset.
Exactly. Yeah, it's basically porn music, because the movie opens like a porn would, like the porns that I used to find in my parents' closet on VHS and watch when I was a kid. That was kind of what that scene reminded me of, and I wrote it as to kind of feel like the beginning of like a 70s porno with the housewife laying by the pool and the pool guy showing up. So that's porn music, actual porn music that I stole from a porn that I'm not allowed to use, and then cutting back to his headset into his headphones, and that Leanna Vamp, who plays Miss Stevens, the woman in the chair, that's her actual in real life husband, Cameron, who plays the pool guy.
Okay.
So the two of them are friends of mine, and so they came in and we shot that scene in a day, all of that in one day in December when it was freezing cold.
Oh no, not another freezing day.
Yes. Oh, it was ridiculously cold. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't think, a lot of younger people, they would have to be closer to our age, understand like 70s and 80s porn it's joked about, but these days it's true. I mean, that you used to get films where, oh my God, Mr. Plumber, I have no money to fix this. How can I pay you? Cut to them having sex. Or the pizza guy shows up. Oh my God, my friend and I have no money for this pizza. And that's how it would be. And there's been jokes about that ever since, but it's real. It was a real thing that happened in porn back then.
It for sure was. And that was kind of my nod to it. And in fact, I actually played a pizza guy, or I played a porn star acting in a movie as a pizza guy, in a movie that never got finished, not a porno, but in the movie, the character I played was a porn actor, and we shot the intro of a scene, and it was me as a pizza guy arriving at this house with Ron Jeremy in the movie was directing. Directing this. Yes, okay. In the movie. I mean, he was acting, but on camera, his character was the director of this scene, and myself and a young woman, and I knock on the door, and she says, "Come in," and I said, "Does somebody order a pizza with extra sausage?" And then we have some silly dialogue, and then Ron Jeremy yells "cut," and that was the end of it. But yes, and so that was like really how those movies would often start, or scenes would often start. So
yeah, one of the best examples of that is in a film that is not very good, Detroit Rock City, which is just the ripoff on I Want to Hold Your Hand. But they as they're going to the Kiss concert, they're driving along the highway, and there's the hot girl, hitchhiking, and the guy goes, "Dude, that's how porn starts." And they're like, "Yeah, let's pick her up." And then the other guy in the back goes, "That's how slasher movies start." Yeah. And they just speed right past her. So it's both ways, actually. It's slasher and porn.
For sure. Yeah.
And
in this case, it was both.
Yeah, there you go.
It wasn't a porn, but it was my nod to porn, and it was actually a slasher movie.
Well, and if he didn't leave, it could have ended up being porn. But
it could have been, if he didn't have his earbuds in.
Yeah, I was thinking while watching it this time, like, oh, it's a good thing he did leave because he wouldn't have died. Oops, my mistake.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So speaking of music, and we brought up like Mike Conway, um, how did you work with him on the music for this?
Well, I mean, and I found him just because he was, as a local, like I said, I joked he was a local legend, but he kind of is. But he was also good friends with Brian Mills. So that's how we ended up bringing him in. And I mean, I didn't have to work with him too much other than telling him what I wanted and just laying down the little groundwork of saying it's an homage to 80s slasher movies, even though it takes place in modern times. I kind of want to have a synth heavy score. And play on that. And it was kind of right before everything had a synth heavy score. So I didn't have too much modern to reference, but he did a great job.
Yeah, I like that soundtrack and or the score. I'm going to call it the score because next are songs that are in the movie. How did you pick the songs for that?
Kind of like how I picked the kills. It was a combination of what I liked and what I could actually get. I'm sure if I could have access to, an entire iTunes library, there might have been some different songs in there. But I thought about what I could actually use, friends, bands, and then went from there. I had a couple that were definitely that I had in mind, like during the 8-bit title sequence in the beginning is the band Horse the Band, and that song Cutsman is just a song that I've liked forever, and it's a great song, and I thought it went perfectly with the 8-bit title sequence. So that was a no-brainer. So thank God I was able to work with their record label and use that. But then just some of my other friends' band. My friends are in a band called Fu Manchu. They let me use one of their songs. The thrash band Axe Slasher was just a no-brainer. It's a horror thrash band, so they let me use a song. So yeah, it's just kind of. It was a long process. And then I also just lucked out in some ways, like at the end title, the Pool Party Massacre song that plays during the credits. I mean, they reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have this song that's kind of about a pool party massacre. Would you want to use it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And they said, "Actually, can we rewrite it and make it even more about your movie?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, that would be amazing, please." So I ended up with that, which is great.
Is Fu Manchu the band that's been out for a long time? Because I recognize that name, but I think hasn't.
I mean, they've been a band forever. I mean, they were a band when I was in high school, and then one of my best friends, Bob, joined the band when we graduated high school. But they had already been a band for a while.
So I do know of them then. Okay, because I have heard of the band.
Probably. I think they had a big. Their biggest break came shortly after we graduated high school. They were in Tony Hawk. They had a song in Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the video game, and a video on MTV. And they've been a band ever since. They still are. They still.
Well, that's good because I think being like a horror fan and all that is I saw like a might have been a vinyl record of them, and I'm like Fu Manchu. That's the Boris Karloff, Christopher Lee thing, and maybe I should check it out. But then when I saw them in the title or the credits, it was like, oh, I wonder if that's the same band. And it sounds like it is.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably.
And you had brought up the credits, the beginning credits. That's really cool looking with they used to like the 8-bit. How did that come about?
I always joke that that's the best part of the movie, and it probably is. I love the title sequence. My friend Malcolm Hardiman is an editor and a digital artist and an animator and just a guy that's good at everything. Is just a good friend of mine, and we had talked about at that time he was doing more stop motion and animation because he's an editor by trade, and he was doing some really cool paper cutout stuff and animated stuff. And he had offered to help with the title sequence because it sounded like fun. And like talking back and forth, he came up with the idea of doing the 8-bit. And then we just went from there. And I thought it would be funny to show everyone's death scenes I mean, it's the beginning of the movie, so you wouldn't know that we're actually showing you exactly how each one of these characters die, but it really is actually just spoiling the entire movie for you in 8-bit. And I just thought that was funny to me. I just figured, well, no one will know unless they've seen it more than once, and if they've seen it more than once, they know anyways. So who cares? And it's my movie; I could do whatever I want. So
exactly.
So that's what I did, and then he just killed it. I mean, it's amazing, and then that song works so well with it. And then I just loved this idea of it dissolving back into the movie. And I just think it works really well. It's the best part of the movie.
Well, and what I found interesting about that is you go from the deaths to that credit sequence back to you. While a lot of horror movies, it would be the opening kill, credits, 3 years later type of thing.
Yeah.
But you chose to go right back to the pool with you there.
Yeah. As if you hit pause, showed it, and then unpause. Yeah. Like literally comes back the same second that it stopped.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I just thought that was fun.
Just want to be a little different or
yeah, exactly.
Okay. And that kind of brings up to, because you think the titles are the best. My favorite scene, and I love this, are the parents. I think the parents are absolutely hysterical. And that's still my favorite scene in the whole movie, is just them insulting their daughter.
I mean, that was my favorite scene to write for sure. That's my favorite dialogue. And that was the first day of shooting. That was the very first thing that we shot. With John and Karina, who played the parents, and Karina brought her dog just as a prop, and then Darla, the other dog, is my dog. So, because she had read that there was a dog, and she said, "Can I bring mine?" And there could be 2 dogs. I said, "Sure, of course." So yeah, I just loved, and they're great. I mean, Karina's amazing; she's one of my favorite people, and John's awesome too. So it just scene worked really well, and like I said, that was some of my favorite dialogue. And there's a bunch that we couldn't use too. I mean, I just had fun feeding. Karina's great at improv. I mean, she's an amazing actress, a comedic actress, an improv actress. So there was a lot of fun dialogue that we didn't use that I would keep feeding her. And then it became a joke. I kept feeding her more and more vulgar dialogue until finally it got to the point where she realized that I was fucking with her and was like, "Wait a second, are you just fucking with me?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." But I got her to say some pretty vulgar things that maybe I'll have to dig out someday. But yeah,
some of that's in the bloopers.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. There's a couple things of John and her, and I think John brings up like an orgy, and he brings up some other stuff that's worse than what's in the actual film. And I didn't know. I went to a concert with him. I forget which one it was. It might have been Marilyn Manson, whatever the first one was that I went to the concert with him. And I brought up Pool Party Massacre just kind of out of the blue. And he goes, I played the parent in that. And I'm like, "No, you didn't." And he's like, "Yeah, I did." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yes, I played the dad." I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "You're the funniest guy in the movie. I think you're great." and then of course I got to work with him later on in a short I did called Cannibal. And so it was a pleasure working with him. He was very professional, very nice, funny guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my favorite scene. And which brings me to, how much do you allow people, because watching the bloopers, to ad lib, or do they have to stick to the script?
No, I mean, I love improv, and a lot of the things that I work on as an actor, I end up improvising a lot. I mean, I'm happy to stick to the script if that's what the director wants, but I enjoy just kind of riffing and seeing where things can go. And so I definitely allow it, but I also, I mean, I write things for a reason. So, I mean, there are certain beats that I need to hit and certain lines of dialogue that are important to me or important to the story. Like, even if they don't seem like they're important to the story, they might be important to me. So it's kind of a balance, but I always welcome it. I'm never, as long as we get what I need, if someone has something they want to add or want to try, unless we're really far behind schedule, I'm down, because that's where some of the best moments come from.
Do you think it's better to do one take of them actually reading the script and then do a second take with them doing the ad lib, or does it really matter?
It just depends on what the ad lib would be, I guess, like how far they're deviating from the script and the path that I already laid out. Or if they come and talk to me, a lot of times an actor will come up and talk to me in advance and say, hey, look, this is what I was thinking for this. Do you mind? And most of the time I love it. And then we don't even need to worry about the way it was originally written. We just go that direction. But also oftentimes they'll say, hey, let's just get it this way. And then we'll do it your way too. And we'll see what works best in post.
Okay. And what about red herrings in the movie? Would the man cutting the tree, would he be a red herring? Would the stepbrother be a red herring?
Yes. I mean, definitely in the original script, the stepbrother is more of a red herring. His scenes got cut to make him less, but he definitely was intended to be. And then I just liked, like, I felt like in 80s movies, like they loved the red herring. Like that was this like trope that people really, really latched onto. And like played, like leaned so heavy into it that I wanted it to be ridiculous and have like the old guy like cutting the tree and the stepbrother, you know. And I think I'd even written other red herrings in there that got cut out. But it was just, I just think it's funny how heavy that it was leaned on in the 80s. So yes, I threw those two in there. Oh, but not very well, like in hindsight looking at it, you know.
Well, the two films that I remember are Pieces, of course. Everybody has the same gloves. Like everybody has something that's the same, that like there's no reason for the school principal to have the same gloves or something as the maintenance guy, but everybody does. And then Graduation Day is is the other one with the red herrings in that one. So it's all over the 80s. There were red herrings. That was like the big thing. You know, some films obviously didn't need it, like, Friday the 13th or, Freddy or some of those other ones. It's pretty obvious of who the killer is.
Sure. But I mean, even in Friday the 13th part 1, it isn't. And you have, you have Ralph and you have some characters that are set up to be a red herring before you know.
Yeah, because he knows how to use a bow and arrow.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. But I just thought it was funny. And like I said, it didn't end up, the script was, I was going to say dramatically different than what ended up on screen. Not dramatically, but there was a lot that was lost due to time, and mostly due to time. I mean, the entire ending of the movie, which I'm sure you'll get to, was completely different in the script. So.
Oh, well, that's okay. Let's discuss that then. That's fine. Yeah. So what happened instead?
So I shouldn't say completely different. I mean, there's still the like standoff between Nancy and Blair was still written, but it was a much bigger ending. Like there was in the script, there was an ambulance and there were police that arrive. That end scene was definitely bigger. There was a more dramatic fight scene between the two of them that I was actually going to have a fight choreographer come in and choreograph. And by that time, like I mentioned earlier, we shot over a period of 6 months. In that 6 months that we were shooting, so much changed. Well, Brian, who was shooting the movie, moved to Orlando, Florida. So he was no longer here and available all the time. Blair, Kristen, who played Blair, the lead, she moved to LA. So she was no longer here and available all the time. People's hair changed, people's weight changed, people's look changed. I mean, flowers bloomed on trees. Like there was so much that was changing around us. It's comical. But we'd have to schedule for Brian to fly in from Orlando and for Kristen to fly in or drive in from LA and work around their work and travel and all that. And so one of the weekends that we were trying to finish the movie finally, and we actually shot the end at the end. Kristen had flown in and gotten, I think, I'd just say 2 or 3 days off of work at her job in LA, and we were going to shoot the scenes. And then one day into it, her work had called in that she needed to come back. Like she needed to leave that day and be at work the next day, or she was going to be fired. So we were supposed to shoot all of that the next day. And now all of a sudden she couldn't stay, and for great reason. Like she needed to keep her job more than we needed to finish this movie. So we broke for lunch, and I just had to sit down and look at the script and the last however 10 pages or whatever it was, and say, all right, how can we wrap this entire movie up after I finish eating this sandwich? And that's kind of what we did. And I shortened some things, and we all worked together and figured out how to do it. And like none of this is, I guess, somewhat of a spoiler, but none of my scenes were supposed to be shot that day. They were all supposed to be shot the next day. And I was supposed to get a haircut, and I was going to go over my lines some more, and I was even going to rewrite the scene, and I didn't have any time to do any of that either, because then suddenly we had to shoot all of my dialogue that day too, because we interact with each other, and she would be gone. So yeah, I sat down and ate a sandwich and kind of rewrote the entire ending, then shot that over the next 5 or 6 hours while we were there, and finished the whole movie. And it works. And coincidentally, it's like people love the ending and the reveal. So it worked really well, but it was very stressful trying to figure that out. And then we lost so much of it. We lost the big grand fight scene. We lost the paramedics and the police showing up, and a whole setup for part 2 that was going to be much bigger than what we actually have.
Oh, wow. Because you hear the sirens at the end, so you know that they're coming to the house. And so, I mean, at least that's, you got that in there. And so would that one day be from like when she enters that bedroom? So it's that whole scene of her talking to you, and then her fighting, with like the lead character and all that stuff.
Yes. And then her running out of the room and getting stopped and running back into the room, and then coming up and finding the killer and killing the killer and leaving. All of that ended up being that last day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which originally I wanted it to be like 5 days. And then it ended up being after lunch instead.
You say it works. So are you happy with it? Like when you watch the film and you say, yeah, I wanted more, but it works. It's good.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I mean, the biggest thing that I would critique would be my performance, just because that's me and that's what I would always do. But then every time I say that, people seem to like I said, people love the reveal. So it worked. Yeah. So I like it. I actually like the way that it worked. That it worked out. So, we literally didn't have the Clay character, the body behind Blair in the Hawaiian shirt was a PA that was helping us that day, because I didn't even have Nick, who played Clay, there, because we weren't supposed to be shooting anything where we would see his dead body that day at all. And then all of a sudden we had to figure it out. So I was like, oh my God, who can put on this Hawaiian shirt and lay in the background, and who can put on these shoes and have their feet sticking out over here, because I don't have any of these people here. And so we just had to improvise. And I actually have a great photo that I've been meaning to post that I just found from that day, because Katie wasn't ready to do the axe in Blair's head gag, because we weren't supposed to do that day. And so suddenly it was at lunch, I'm like, hey, we're going to have to do that. And she's like, I'm not ready for that. I thought we were doing that tomorrow or next weekend or whatever it was. And so we ended up just trying to figure it out on the fly. And so there's a picture of, I think you can see the setup. We had a C-stand with a C-stand arm, and then fishing line coming from the arm down to the axe that was holding the axe up, that was just kind of perfectly balancing on her head. And in frame, in camera, it looks great, but it's this funny, rinky-dink fishing line setup. So, but yeah, it works. I'm happy with it, actually. And I mean, I work well under pressure. Like I said earlier, my whole job is fixing problems. So I think I'm kind of trained for that. So I don't mind being under pressure, and most of filmmaking is under pressure. So luckily that's part of my skill set.
Yeah, that's a very good skill set to have, because you never know what's going to be going on. I mean, I don't know if you know, but the ending for Meat Hook Massacre was totally shortened. I mean, we just did kind of the similar thing. We just didn't have time. There was a longer ending of Mindy walking out of the bar, and she's supposed to walk all the way to her car, and she sees the sunset kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre like. And as she's about to grab the door, that's when Bubba comes out and he runs out and grabs her and she's screaming as he's dragging her back. And I got maybe a quarter of that. Yeah. It works. Nobody knows, unless you've read the script, nobody knows. So sure. I haven't heard any complaints, but it's problem solving. And you got to, you just have to accept what you get and hopefully be happy with it. As long as it makes sense, then that's okay. And your film makes sense. So bigger, isn't necessarily better, but who knows what it would have been, if you could have had those, for like 5 days.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? So, and I don't know. I don't want to dwell on it.
Well, then we'll move on to the wall of murder tool weapons. Is that an actual wall, or did you have to make that for the film?
I made it for the film. It was just reminded me, my dad had a pegboard like that in our garage growing up and outlined his tools. And it was kind of this that's where the idea came from. And there were also, throughout the years, I've seen it in a couple movies. I think in Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2 in the shed, that there's some outlined tool. There's been movies where that have had an out.
It was the chainsaw tool that he pulls the blanket back or the sheet back, and there's the outline, and he's like, "Huh? Where's the chainsaw?" And
exactly. So it was like a combination of, I would see those movies and go, "Oh my God, that reminds me, my dad did that." So it was kind of an homage. That you asked earlier about little nods and Easter eggs, so that was kind of an Easter egg to Evil Dead 2 as well with that. But yeah, I just made the pegboard and put it. That's in my dad's garage currently, but they're not in the house that I grew up in. So he doesn't have the pegboard anymore. So I just moved whatever he had on the wall, put that pegboard up, and art directed it myself. And so yeah, that was all me.
It is a very dad thing. I don't know if people do that anymore these days, but it is a very dad thing to have up in your garage.
For sure. And it was just an idea that born from that, remembering my dad. But then I couldn't think of the idea of the killer using a different weapon for almost every kill and putting them back. It's just something that came to me, and then I expanded on it. And I thought it was fairly original. I couldn't think of any other movie that did it like that, at least. And and it just seemed fun. And I think that it did become fun. People seem to like it.
Well, yeah, because you go to the wall, the tools are clean. You put back tools that are all full of blood.
Yeah. Yeah, like this.
Just like that. There we go. There, I finally got my figure right. Just like that. Just like, no, I'm getting it wrong again. There we go. Just like that. So when your ex is on the phone and she's talking to Drew, how much of what everybody is saying and that she's saying is you?
I mean, most of it. That was that was the joke to me, was for her to be essentially talking to a version of me, since she was my wife and she's supposed to be talking to her boyfriend. And then, so that's why they're making fun of him for collecting action figures and whatever, and being a dork. And so that part is me. The part that his parents are so rich they could own Hawaii or something is not me. That just fit the character of reason why she would be dating someone that they all didn't approve of. But I just thought it'd be funny to work in a couple digs on myself since I named the character Drew and it was my wife playing it. So yeah, I just thought that was funny. And then I guess I added the dick pic on the screen as
I was going to bring that up.
I just thought that was funny. It's not my dick, if anyone's wondering. I just searched the internet and found the most impressive dick that I could find. So it's definitely not mine. But that was funny, and that was in a spur of the moment ad lib on scene. Like, that wasn't in the script. We had kind of finished shooting the inserts for that scene, and then I had the idea, and I was like, "Oh my God, I got this idea! Can we break for 15 minutes? Let me see how I can do it." And so I ended up, the girls on set ended up helping me pick the right dick. And we made it my home screen on my phone, and we shot it. So
that's funny.
Yeah,
getting their approval, because Who are
For
we
sure.
to judge? You know,
Yes, that was important to me.
And then the two guys that show up. Of course, one of them is Mark Justice, and both of us have worked with him a couple times now. And what was your inspiration behind them?
Just they're kind of character archetypes that I feel like show up in a lot of 80s horror movies. The jock type and just kind of like the creepy guy type that I just thought they show up a lot. The character of Clay, who is kind of the sleazy, creepy guy, is actually somewhat modeled after my friend in real life, Clay, who's not sleazy, but it's still, I picked some things that reminded me of him, and he was quite a party animal, I guess you could say. So it was a kind of a blend of him, real life him, and a very exaggerated version of him. And then just Mark just played like the douchey jock guy, which I feel like needs to exist in every 80s slasher homage.
Pretty much, yes. Well, and not Mark, but the other friend. I love the shot of him just awkwardly, you know, with he's in his bathing suit, he's just kind of rubbing the sun. You know, he's like, "Hey, anybody want to help me?" And it's just so awkward looking and just so weird.
He's amazing. That actor, Nick Byer, is one of my favorite actors.
He's funny. He's good in this. Yeah.
And he happens to be here in town and a friend of mine. But I mean, he's amazing. Like, he is a great character actor and just a great actor. But he's just very, very funny and very sharp, and plays awkward better than anyone I've ever met in my life. So yeah, he was great, and for those reasons.
Well, I like that when he goes to pleasure himself, that at first he aims at a picture of you without the beard. He's kind of rubbing like, "Oh, look at this one," and then he picks, you know, the mom. And but that would have been hilarious if he did do it to you, not knowing. You know?
Thinking that it was Blair, like he thought it was young Blair.
With your long, you know, blonde locks.
Yeah, that was my senior photo, my senior high school photo.
Well, it's interesting. In that hallway is like a family photo. And so would be what? Your mom, your dad, you, there's the dog, and then your two kids, ex-wife, right?
Yes. So there's a photo there was the real photo that it might still be hanging in my parents' hallway, actually. It was my parents, myself, my now ex-wife, and our two kids in this family photo. And so then I had photoshopped the screen parents over my parents' faces, and that's what's hanging in the hall. So Karina and John's faces are over my mom and dad's. And then I left my wife, even though she's in the movie playing a completely different character. I didn't feel like she looked enough the same. Like, so many years had passed since the photo was taken, and you never see what my character in the movie as the brother, what his family looks like anyway. So I just left it, and nobody's actually ever questioned it. But it is kind of funny that technically she's in that photo as my wife, but she's also playing another character that I just killed who happens to have a boyfriend named Drew. It's just this whole weird, convoluted thing.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I get entertained by as I'm making the movie. That I'm like, this is funny to me. I don't care what happens. Yeah.
I was wondering, like, okay, is there some weird connection here between the killer and then, you know, the character that the ex-wife is playing? Like, you know, is she actually talking to the killer? Is the killer really Drew, but he's using a different name? And of course, no, I'm totally wrong.
Yeah, none of that. And then even like, there's a picture of young Blair, and that's my daughter, who is also playing my daughter in the other picture. Like, all those kinds of things I just think are funny. Those are the things I get enjoyment of. I love intentional continuity errors, and I love setting up weird things to make people overthink stuff when I'm making a movie like this. If I was making a World War II drama, maybe I wouldn't do that. But if I'm making a low budget slasher, then I'm going to play with the audience.
Sure. Well, and it's fun because if you do notice it, you can, you know, think about it, and then it just doesn't mean anything. It's just a joke.
Not at all. Or maybe it only means something to me, or it's an inside joke between me and someone else. And
right.
And it's my movie, so I can do that.
That's true. And now, what about the foreign woman who lives next door, who has a strange, creepy doll tea party going, and she gets all mad at you?
That's a whole nother story. None of that was in the script. We were actually fairly done with the film at that point in time, or done. I can't remember if we were 100% done shooting or just like 90%. But that was not scripted. I was going back to earlier working with international productions. I was a fixer on an international production. It was a Belgian TV show, and they were in town for a couple weeks. And so I was their local fixer producer. And the show itself, it was called 50 Ways to Kill Your Mom, was the translation of the show. It's been syndicated in other countries. I think it originated somewhere in the UK, and this was like the Belgian syndication of it. But so they were here shooting that. So it was this Belgian celebrity. He was like one of the hosts of their American Idol or Belgium's Got Talent or something, but he was a very well-known celebrity in Belgium, and his mom. And it's basically, the premise is he makes his mom, this nice, sweet old lady, do these crazy adventures, and she has no idea what she's getting herself into. And that's why it's called 50 Ways to Kill Your Mom. So it's him taking his mom on adventures. And when she wakes up, she doesn't know what she's doing that day. So they started the season in America by pushing her out of a plane, like making her skydive. Yeah. And then a series of other things that I had to arrange for them. They put her, I had to find like a motorcycle club, or like to them, an American motorcycle gang, but I had to find a motorcycle club and put her on the back of a Harley, and she had to ride across like the state of Nevada on the back of a Harley with a strange tattooed bearded man, things like that. She had to drink a shot with a scorpion in it at Notre Dame. Oh. And so we were arranging these things for her to do. She went ziplining, and so she ate, I think she had to eat like a burger at Hardtech Grill, just like weird, funny stuff to do to her. And while we were shooting, at some point it got brought up that I had just finished my movie, or I was finishing it. And the producer and director, came up with this idea that, oh my God, what if, this is amazing, can she get killed in your movie as part of our episode? Like that'll, like, it's called 50 Ways to Kill Your Mom, and we'll actually kill her, but not kill her. And I said, well, I mean, we're done shooting, but yeah, like, what sounds like a great opportunity, great publicity. The movie's going to be on a huge, potentially this huge network TV show in Belgium. Like, why would I say no? So I had 24 hours to write a scene that would somehow be able to cut into the movie, and arrange to have somebody to come shoot it and get a crew. And then their crew would also be there filming us. Like, it happened very fast. Maybe it was more than 24 hours. Maybe I had like 3 days, but it happened fast, where I had to figure all that out and write that scene and then pull it off. So in their show, she shows up in a car and she's like, well, why are we here? Well, whose house is this? Why are we here? And they're like, oh, I'd like to introduce you to American horror filmmaker Drew Marvik. And then I say, hi, how are you? And they're like, and he's going to put you in his movie today. And she's like, I get to be in a movie? And she's like, yeah, what do I do? And I said, oh, well, you get killed with a pickaxe. And she's like, what? And so we then sent her to makeup and wardrobe, and they filmed all of it, and then got her on set. And so I had just come up with this. She didn't speak English, so she couldn't have dialogue in English. So we translated some dialogue, and I'm like, okay, you're the crazy like Belgian neighbor. And then I'm on the whim, I was like, and you got a weird doll that you talk to? I just was making it all up. And then we killed her off, and they shot it all. It was funny. Like, there's a couple behind the scenes photos where you see me and my little makeshift crew of 3 people trying to shoot this scene, and then their crew of 3 cameramen. They're like a 3-camera shoot, all shooting on Alexas in this huge production, filming this tiny production. It was very funny and surreal. But again, it gave us this interesting scene and a neat additional death in the movie. So it worked out. I don't think the show ever, I think they ended up having issues because it was supposed to be a huge show, and they were going to shoot a whole season. And I think they ended up not shooting the rest of the season. And I don't know if it ever even aired or the whole, I think it did air at some point years later, but it didn't end up being what it was. I was hoping it would help me get distribution in Belgium. And
right. Yeah.
This whole thing. And none of that happened, but but it was still fun. It was a fun experience.
What was that? Just like a 1 day thing, the 1 day shoot?
For her on Pool Party Massacre, yes.
Yeah.
And it was like 2 weeks that I worked on their TV show with them, but the Pool Party Massacre stuff. It actually, in the episode, the Harley drops her off on set. So she's like rides on the back of a Harley from the mines at Nelson all the way to my parents' house. And then they drop her off there. And she's
wow. Okay.
What the heck is going on? So,
well, it seamlessly fits. I mean, it works perfect with, with the music turning on and that it's really loud. And she's all, why am I going? I don't know what language I'm speaking, but she's like, hey, why is this music playing? It's way too loud. You're disturbing my doll party. And it works perfect. I mean,
thanks.
Yeah. Cause it's not just her dying. I mean, she's having the tea party. She goes next door. You watch her yell at people, yell at the door. She walks away. I mean, it's a scene.
Yeah.
It isn't just like, oh, let's just have her head get hit with a pickaxe. It's an actual scene.
Yeah. And actually, funny enough, because I had to be on camera for their show, I couldn't also be playing the killer in the movie. Because I had to do like triple role, like it was like a picture in a picture kind of a thing. So I brought in another local actor. His name's Gus Langley, who I've worked with lots of times. He's great. Oh, yeah. And so Gus is actually the one in the mechanic suit killing her in every shot. And for her scenes, it's her, because I had to be off camera getting filmed, directing it for their show. So, which normally I would just be directing while wearing the wardrobe and doing everything. But in order for it to not spoil that, and also just to make it work for their show as well, I had to bring in Gus as like a body double.
That's interesting. Is I'll have to go back and watch that scene then, because I figured it was just you.
Yeah. So like when she comes and bangs on the door and is walking away, and then you see the killer step into frame with the pickaxe in his hand, that's Gus. And then when he approaches and actually hits her with the pickaxe, and there's a shot where you can see his body and arm and everything, that's Gus, not me.
Oh, that's interesting. So
yeah.
Down the road, he can then go to conventions and go, I was the killer in Pool Party Massacre.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. We could duel.
Yeah. And then you'll sit next to him and go, no, I'm the killer.
Yeah.
And you have your own little Friday the 13th Part 2 rivalry going. So, and now what about nudity? Because two actresses do show nudity. How do you feel about that? Was this for, like you said, it's an 80s movie, it's a slasher, we have to have nudity? Or
I don't feel that it needs to be there. But I think that a lot of people expect it, especially when you're making a movie like this. And so that's why I included it. I certainly don't think it's necessary. It's not a plot device or anything, as if there was a plot, but it is expected by a lot of the fans. So that's why I made the decision to include it. I mean, the whole blood, booze, and babes mantra or whatever of 80s horror.
Yeah. Was there any problem with the nudity? Like, was it close set, or was everybody pretty comfortable?
It was a close set for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Always.
Yeah, because there's certain actresses, and I respect them a lot, who just don't have a problem with doing nudity. And I've never had an issue with, is it necessary? No. But is it nice? Yes. And then you just find actresses that are just like, oh, I'll do it, I don't care. And
yeah,
it's like, thank you.
It's a very sensitive thing. And I understand why people wouldn't want to do it. I don't necessarily want to do it as an actor. And the people that are confident enough to do it, I admire them. But it is definitely a sensitive thing. So I try to take it as seriously as possible.
And I did notice that out at the pool, there appears to be a golf course in the background.
There is, yes. Yes, occasionally you could see a golf cart cruising by in the background.
Yeah. So none of the characters would just run to the golf course and say, help me, help me.
No. Well, I mean, I tried to set it up in a sense where they don't really even realize what's going on, almost in like a ridiculous way. Like people are disappearing and they're always like, oh, they must still be inside. So there isn't much of a kind of a running and looking for help moment until the very end.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
Because they also could have just picked up a phone, or anything. That's why I kind of built it that way, that they're not missing the people, and it all happens in real. The movie actually happens in real time for the most part.
Oh yeah, it does.
I mean, it might not be perfectly real time, but it pretty much is. There's no large gap of time, more than a couple minutes, if there are any.
And you said that people like that, the twist ending on it.
Yeah, people. I mean, I get people's reactions. Some people say that they saw it from the beginning. Some people say they didn't, but everyone seems to really like the reveal, at least.
And there's a couple times that, like in like the making of and stuff like that, where you hint at a Pool Party Massacre 2. Is that, and you just talked about it, in this interview. So is that going to happen?
For sure. It has to happen no matter what. Like even if I die trying, I wanted it to already have been done. It should have already been done and out at this point. Now it was just delayed from the shutdown because we were going to start shooting right when, like, a month after the world shut down. So now, and then it's just been on hold with all the, hurdles that you have to go. We talked about earlier to make a production during the shutdown, how hard it was. So I just didn't feel like Pool Party Massacre 2 needed to be done with all of that going on and with people being so sensitive and the world being divided. It just felt, I just felt that my silly slasher sequel wasn't important enough to risk people's lives or even just risk losing friendships over or anything like that. So I was happy to just put it on the back burner and wait until I felt like the time was right. And now we're getting there. I mean, one we're getting there as a world slowly, but also it's so much time is passing that I feel like it just needs to get done. So I kind of I've decided that it needs to happen sooner than later. And I've actually been talking with some of the key players in it who unfortunately aren't even available until the first couple months of next year. So it's looking like we're going to have to push it to like March or April of 2022. But actually now we have a timeline to work with, and I can start pre-production and actually, I have time to prep. And so I think we should be shooting by April for sure, which I'm excited about.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be great. And has the script changed at all because of COVID and these things?
It's definitely, I mean, it's just changed because of time, not necessarily because of COVID, but it certainly has changed because of time and because of the world. I mean, the original treatment that I wrote for the sequel, I wrote right after we finished shooting, which was in 2016. So I mean, the world has changed dramatically since 2016 and the climate. So there are definitely some jokes that don't work now. And there's definitely some scenes that I don't want to include anymore because they might be offensive or just risk affecting someone that might be sensitive. And that's not what I mean, I like pushing boundaries, but I don't want to hurt people's feelings and I don't want to cause controversy. Sure. I want to entertain people. That's all I want to do and have fun. So I'm happy to change a joke if that's what I have to do. So yeah, it's definitely changed. The bones of the script have not changed. The story, I mean, is the same. And the catalyst is the same. And it's always taken place the moment that part one ends. Like it just picks up. Cool. Just like Adam Green's Hatchets, how he did with that. It's like the moment that it ends. So the sequel will pick up just like that. So that hasn't changed, and kind of the beats and who he's seeing and who he's killing and how he's getting there have been the same. It's just everything in between. And I've also changed how I'm going to do it now with more experience in indie film and trying to make it easier for me so that it won't be 6 months of like headaches with scheduling issues and things like that.
Okay, that's good. Okay, good. So that's something to look forward to. Two things that I liked. One, when there's a POV of you when you're looking down at Nancy, like near the end when she gets you, and that's a great shot. I think it's probably no, there are other POVs, but I think it's the direct POV of you, and you just kind of go backwards with it. Yeah, and I laughed at that. I like that POV. That stood out to me, and I like that.
I think I say, nice one. and then I can fall backwards.
Yeah. And it's just nice seeing the camera just kind of, because she's short. So yeah, it's nice seeing it just go all the way back. And I like that the dog lives. I like that.
Of course.
We see the dog at the end.
Yeah. I would never kill a dog in a movie. I just wouldn't do that. I'll kill people. I'll kill kids even. I don't care about that. But I would never kill a dog. And that's my dog, Darla. She's still alive. Barely, but she's still alive. So hopefully she makes it till we shoot the sequel. But yeah, I had to show that at the end. And I didn't actually throw her. People have asked me that. There's like the scene, or Blair didn't throw her. There's a scene where Blair carries Darla into the bedroom and kind of chucks her through the door, and then you hear the dog yelp. She didn't, she technically, I guess, did throw her, but I was Darla was in the air for like 2 inches and into my arms. So she had no idea. Blair pretty much just handed her to me through the door, and we made it look like she was tossing her, but I would never throw Darla.
Good to know. Yeah, because I figured that she went maybe like an inch or two, and that was about it.
I would never.
And why do you think people love films from the 1980s? Why do you like the horror films from 1980s?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, for me, it's an easy answer because I am a product of I was born in 1977. So once I was of an age to truly like start appreciating movies in any way, shape, or form, it was the 80s. So those are the movies that I grew up on and that I continued to watch and still watch to this day. So for me and people in my age group, I think that's a large reason, in the same way that younger kids are going to have 90s films. And as generations change, they'll have their decade of films that they grew up watching and will appreciate in a way that other people won't. But I also think for me, at least, I don't know, there was kind of just this, there's a level of wackiness, of course, that I love, but also just kind of this, they were just unhinged in a way that I really appreciate. I find myself, when I'm talking, I get asked constantly in podcasts and interviews what my favorite horror movie is. And just anywhere I go, if people find out that I work in horror, that's the first question they ask. And I don't have a favorite horror movie. I don't have an answer, or I just don't have one solid answer. I change my answer constantly and I can't make up my mind. But I have found out over the years that as I'm answering it, I recognize the theme that almost every answer I give is a sequel. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 is definitely one of my favorite movies ever made, for sure. And then I think about it and I'm like, and then Slumber Party Massacre 2. I love that movie. Oh, Sleepaway Camp Part 2. Oh, Return of the Living Dead Part 2. I'm like, oh my God, I like all these sequels. And I think part of it, that reason is that they all were very off the wall and like I said, unhinged. Like some more than others, like Slumber Party Massacre 2. I mean, having the ghost of the killer with this drill guitar and leather, and he could like just, it makes no sense and is so far off the wall that I love it. And I mean, even Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like suddenly they're, doing chili cook-offs and, cracking jokes in an RV. So I love that element of it because I like comedy. I watch movies to be entertained. I can appreciate a scary movie. I think it's a lot harder to scare someone than it is to make them laugh. So I use comedy as a crutch, but I also appreciate it. I love it. I mean, that's what entertains me. And my goal is to entertain people. And when I watch those movies, I am entertained. And so I think that's why I'm drawn to them. They don't take them, and they don't appear to take themselves too seriously. I can't speak for the people that were making them. Maybe they thought they were being very serious. But to me, from the outside looking in, they don't seem to take themselves too seriously. And that is kind of how I live my life. So they feel comfortable to me.
Got it. And that's a good, I think that's a good answer. So it's interesting that you like the sequels more than, let's say, the originals. So so do you like, because you were saying like you like to be entertained. So does that mean that you like more kind of comedy in your horror films?
I do, for sure. But a balance of it, like not necessarily something that's a comedy, but they add a little bit of horror. If there's a way to do that, I would probably love it as well. But because some of it's unintentional comedy in a lot of those movies, I'm sure it was just a product of the time. But yeah, I do like the comedic element. And for sure, that's, as much as Pool Party Massacre was kind of my nod to 80s slashers like Slumber Party Massacre Part 1 or April Fool's Day or Happy Birthday to Me or whatever you want to compare it to, Pool Party Massacre Part 2 hopefully will be an obvious nod to all of the sequels that I just mentioned. And I'm going to just throw the rules, whatever rules I had, out the door. And anything goes. If I want to bring back the ghost of a character, then I'll bring back the ghost of a character. If I want to use all the same actors and put wigs on them, I will. Like, I feel like that's what I love so much about 80 sequels, is there weren't boundaries in a sense. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it failed miserably. But the fact that they would try the things that they did, just really, I really enjoyed it and it made me laugh. So I want to approach this one in the same way.
And what about, and we're only got a couple questions left here, then I'll let you go. What do you think? Because you made a film that's almost a family movie, meaning that your family was in it. So it's a slasher film. Your ex-wife is in it. Your kids are around. I believe in the audio commentary you mentioned, like your son's hand is in a scene. And what do you think when people say, "Oh, violence"? There's violence, and that's why we have shootings and things like that. What do you take from? I mean, I haven't heard of any Marviks committing crimes, but yet they're all involved in your films. They're in your photos. That just doesn't seem to sound true to me when these people say these things. What's your take on violence in movies?
Well, first, for the record, no Marvik has ever committed a crime. I want to go on the record and say that. No, but I don't think there's a direct correlation. I'm certainly not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, nor do I have a background in criminology. So this is a completely uneducated answer. But speaking from experience, as someone who grew up watching horror movies my whole life and carried like VHS tapes of horror movies to friends' houses when I was a kid in my backpack, and we would watch them. To me, it didn't translate into real life. Like, I didn't think that this is what I was supposed to be doing or have any desire to do that. I'm not a very violent person. I don't even like real life violence. I don't enjoy real life bloodshed. I don't watch like surgeries on YouTube or anything like that. That's just it's not my thing. And especially because I already said I'm more into the comedic side of it. Like, for me, if I'm going to be watching bloodshed, it's going to be more Dead Alive than it is realistic. So that's just me. And as far as with kids, I think it's all in how you would present it, I suppose. And I think as a parent, it's my job. I mean, it is my job to teach my kids and to groom them and to teach them right from wrong. And I think it's actually a great tool where I can show them that this isn't real and that, movies aren't real and this is how we make them. And you can be on set. And my 5-year-old daughter got to work a blood sprayer and my son got to be Leanna Vamp's hand, and they got to see that this is entertainment. It's theater. I mean, it's no different. I mean, someone is probably going to really disagree with me when I say this, but I mean, it's no different than like a theater production of Shakespeare, where there's still violence and murder and all of these things that I feel like people would be less likely to be concerned about their child watching a play with violence in it than watching Pool Party Massacre. And I don't blame them for that knee-jerk reaction, but I think that having them on set, it actually was good for them. And I think that they actually took away an understanding of how movies work and how things work, and be able to separate that, and then maybe not be as afraid of certain things that another child might be, that because they don't realize what's real and what's not. So I think there's a value to it, but I also think there's a balance. They weren't there when Alexis Adams was topless getting her head cut off. There are things that they weren't allowed to see. And there was a way that I presented it to them that I thought was safe and smart and responsible. I don't let my children watch horror. Well, now my son's almost 15, so he can watch almost anything he wants. But at that point in time, I wasn't the kind of parent that let their children watch whatever they wanted. So a lot of my friends do. You see kids at conventions that'll come up who've already seen my movie, 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and they'll talk about it. I didn't let my children do that. I think every parent's different, every child's different. So you have, as a parent, you have to step back and look at your situation and look at your child and think about your parenting style and figure out what's best for them. So there's no like general rule, but I didn't let my kids watch horror movies at an early age, and I kind of groomed them and like slowly let my daughter still won't, because she's still scared. So she'll watch some, but yeah. So, I mean, I think it's something that you can really, on a case-by-case basis, though, but can actually have a positive impact.
Okay, good answer. Good answer. Perfect. Thank you. So last two would be, where can people find Pool Party Massacre and other films that you have worked on?
Well, Pool Party Massacre can be found at poolpartymassacre.com. That's probably the best place to find it, where we have merch, the movie on Blu-ray, DVD, and VHS when it's in stock, because it sells so fast. And we have hats and shirts and various other merch that comes in and out as we get it. I also just started selling off a lot of the screen used props from the movie. I found a bin full of everything. I didn't even necessarily realize that I still had literally every piece of wardrobe and every prop used. Not that all of that's getting sold. Some of it's just ruined because it was soaked in blood and then folded up and put in this bin. So now it's like stiff as cardboard. But things like this actual screen used bloody hammer that killed my ex-wife, and the drill bit that went through the character Clay, and the pickaxe that killed Dora, like all of those things I had saved, and just because I felt like I should save them and forgot. And I've been asked over the years so many times if I had screen used weapons or special effects props, which I do. I have both of the severed heads, the stunt severed head and the beauty severed head from Alexis's death. And I have I have her torso, and I have all these things that are just taking up space, and I can't keep everything from every movie. And since so many people have asked over the years, I decided to make them available. So I've sold a bunch of them already in the last couple of days, but I still have, I think there's like 11 pieces left that I was going to put up on the Pool Party Massacre store and just put a price on there. And if people want screen used props to add to their collection, then they'll be able to get them. So all of that's at poolpartymassacre.com. Pool Party Massacre is on Instagram and Facebook. And then, of course, I myself am as well. And that's probably where most of the information that would be current would be found, through my social media, which is just Drew Marvik, either at Drew Marvik on Instagram or Drew Marvik on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm pretty active on social media, and I just try to.
You are.
Just try to entertain.
New pics and videos every day. So
yeah,
you definitely do not slack on that. So
no, and I try to keep it always entertaining as I can.
All about being positive. So
yes, always.
Even if you have a pickaxe in your head, just be positive.
Always.
And lastly would be, is there anything that you would like to plug? It could be past, present, future. What would you like to let people know?
Oh man, I don't have any like really personal project of mine that I'm writing or directing that I'd need to plug. Obviously, we just spent this whole time plugging Pool Party Massacre, so I don't need to waste time on that. I know that the movie /Lorette Party that I starred in got added to Amazon Prime and Plex, and I think Tubi. 13 Sleighs Till Christmas is now just got a digital release, physical release through Scream Team, but also it's on Amazon as well to rent and buy. I think those would be the two, and 1031 Part 2 is on Prime now, if somebody wants to check that out. I would say those three are the things that are the most recent releases. And then, like I said, I think I counted 7 features that are completed that I've acted in that are supposed to come out in 2022. Not to mention things like Axmas 3, which we haven't shot yet, Pool Party Massacre 2, which hasn't shot yet, some other films that I'm attached to, like The House That Eats Flesh, which my scenes haven't been shot yet. So there are other things that haven't even been in production yet, or I haven't shot my scenes yet. So, I mean, Jesus, I might have 12 to 15 things come out next year, which is crazy.
So it's going to be this flood of Drew.
Nick, I hope so.
All right. Well, then that's perfect. Thank you. Well, then we have come to that time where we're at the end. You survived. You survived. And I really appreciate you being here. So
I'm a final girl.
You are. And what drink are you drinking there? That looks interesting.
Liquid Death sparkling water.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I like that can. I'll have to pick up some.
Yeah, I don't drink. I'm not a drinker, so I live off sparkling water. And this is my favorite one, not just because the can is cool and the marketing is amazing, but that helps.
Yeah, it is a cool looking can, so I'll have to check for that. I'm not a drinker myself, like alcohol. So I am, but I'm not. I mean, I drink very seldomly. So it's, I prefer tea and water, coffee.
Yeah, me too.
So,
Coffee
all right,
and
man.
Water.
We could talk more about that, but that has nothing to do with Pool Party Massacre. But all right. So thank you very much, Drew Marvik, for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And we'll have you on again when Pool Party Massacre 2 comes on or comes out. And I guess that's it. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate you watching. And this will be out this coming Wednesday. So I will talk with everybody later. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out after the video. And thank you for watching the very first Dark Park Films sponsored video. And who is that sponsor? Well, I've now learned if I do this with my hands, they go to the right area. There we go. That would be Wildlife Command Center Coffee, and you can purchase it right there. You can go to their website, which is buyWCC.com, and pick up their coffee. They have 2 blends, which I'm going to show you now. The first coffee is this one right here. This is a breakfast blend. It's 10 ounces, and it is a medium ground. And it does say, and it's breakfast, like I said, and this is what it says right here. It says, early bird can catch the worm. So there you go. A breakfast blend coffee that helps you catch the worm in the morning. And I really like this one. I'm more of a breakfast kind of blend coffee guy in the morning. So this one I really like. It has that little bit of oomph to it to kind of get you moving, get you up and out. And so I really enjoy this one, but that doesn't mean that I don't like the other one, which is this one right here. This is a dark roast. It is also 10 ounces. And both of these are $7.99 at their website. Pretty good price for 10 ounces worth of ground coffee. This one is, it's a little darker. So it's, I think it's better for drinking at night. Maybe if you're, writing a screenplay or if you're filming, this has got that oomph, that double punch to get you going. So this is one that I also recommend. I like both of these quite a bit, but I kind of do, the breakfast in the morning and then the dark more at night. So I recommend both of these quite a bit. And how did I find out about these two, these 2 coffees here? And how did I find out about Wildlife Command Center? Well, when I was working on Night of the Zomghouls, there was a box of coffee that was just sitting there filled with coffee. And we didn't know what to do with it. Like, whose is this? Who brought it? Why is it here? And so we just kept going to the store and buying coffee. And then one day I said, why don't we just get the coffee out of the box and use that instead of, wasting money on going to Smith's or whatever and picking up coffee. So we did. We did not realize that it was the Wildlife Command Center coffee and that it, was sponsoring the movie. And it was great coffee. Everybody loved it. And we just went right through it. By the last day of filming, this coffee was gone. And I went and found out, about Wildlife Command Center, asked if they would like to be a sponsor for Dark Park Films, for their coffee. As many of you know, I love coffee. I love coffee mugs. And so this was a perfect match. And Wildlife Command Center is great with animals. So they provide a great service for rescuing animals. So it's kind of that double whammy for me, where coffee, helping animals, you can't go wrong. And they were even cool enough to send me, get in there, a coffee mug, because they knew that I liked coffee mugs. And right now, I don't get that. A little bit. I'm going to go on the keyboard, but that's their dark blend, because I'm recording this at night. So I am actually drinking that while recording. Also, one thing that you can get at their website, which is cool, is you can get this. There you go. This pocket knife, which is $9.49. And this is pretty cool because it has their name on it. Wildlife Command Center, we can catch it. And this is what it looks like. Put that down there. There we go. Fully out. So you're getting like the bottle opener, you got the corkscrew, you got a screwdriver, you got a blade, and then you got this little hook thing that you could pop it into something that doesn't have a tab, and then the liquid or whatever in there will come out. So this is pretty cool. And I'm just going to keep mine in my car, because you never know. You might need a pocket knife. So please support them. I'm going to have links down below, where you can, check out just the Wildlife Command Center. I'll also have a link for Wildlife Command Center coffee. And it will basically be for both these guys right here. And please support them. I support them. I think what they do is pretty awesome. And, maybe this coffee will be on your set or in your kitchen. It will definitely be, on my set, in my kitchen. I know that. So please, once again, I'm going to show you these. Please go to their website and pick up their coffee and make it part of your day or night, depending on which one you like. So that'll be about it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, so thank you. And once again, please support my channel. Please support the Wildlife Command Center. And I will catch you later. Bye.